attacking bits.
Hey guys, MVG back today again with another video on the Imperial Knight. Now I know that last week I put out a video on how to play with the Imperial Knight called Hail to the King Imperial Knight Tactics. This video is actually going to be about playing against the Imperial Knight because, you know, not everybody has these things yet, and a lot of people are still on the fence whether, you know, they're good, or, you know, whether they should even buy them, or, you know, whether they should even be allowed in tournament play, etc., etc. So there's a lot of things to consider when actually facing one of these guys. The first and foremost is you want to kill it, of course, because when it explodes with the huge 15-inch template, and the middle being a D weapon that, you know, scatters about and could scatter across the enemy lines if you manage to kill it in the enemy's deployment zone. But you know, before he gets to go, or before he really gets to move it out, and things like that. Another thing to consider is that these units are actually not, while they're scoring units, they're not denial units. Unless they fix that with an FAQ, theoretically you could have a little Gretchen walk up next to this guy and, you know, within an inch, and basically control an objective if he was within 3 inches of it, and so was the knight, because he does not deny. So that's a very interesting tactic as well. So there's a lot that we're definitely going to cover today. So first off, I wanted to show you this. This is basically an objective, a normal 40mm objective that most people play with, you know, in tournament play. And, well, as you can see there on the base, depending on how the player positions his knight over top of the objective, you may or may not even be able to get your guys within 3 inches of it, because here's about 2 inches. Your guy has to, you know, your models have to be an inch away from the knight, unless you're going to assault it, which, if you're going to assault it, definitely be ready to bring the pain. So that's about 3 inches. So, you know, a clever knight player can definitely kind of hold off on objectives, even though he may not be a denial unit. That objective is still back there in the corner behind him, and you are still going to be out here in no man's land, more than 3 inches away from it, and probably going to get blasted or assaulted, or, you know, some combination thereof. So that's a very important thing to remember. So if you're going to try to make a play on an objective that, you know, a Titan is covering on, you know, like say the bottom of 5 or something like that, you may want to try a multi-pronged assault to try to get around and get multiple units in there, because the Titan, even though it can shoot multiple things, it can't assault multiple things. And depending on how it's kitted out, you know, you don't want to be dropping strength 8 blast templates close to the Titan. So he's going to, you know, have to make some tough decisions there if you basically put baby in a corner. So that's you know, that's some stuff to think about too. Okay, so some good tactics to try to use when fighting against the Titan, of course, is the obvious things. You know, multiple strength 7, strength 8, or, you know, even strength 9, which is hard to do multiple shot wise. But strength 7 seems to be the easiest to do multiple shots from different angles. That way you can get around the ion shield a little bit and be able to try to hit and do some damage, get those penetrating hits through, because you know, each penetrating hit, if you get an exploded result, it does D3 to the actual Titan itself, not just one hull point. So you can get them that way. Also, putting up bait units into ruins with some sort of effective grenades, such as that have like haywire, even melta bombs, is also super effective, because when the Titan charges in through difficult ground, it's not going to go first. It's not going to get that initiative bonus. It's going to get its Hammer of Wrath, which is fine because that always hits, but that always goes off rather. But it's not going to get its D weapon in initiative 4. Everything's going to go to initiative 1. You're going to be able to clamp on grenades, which now don't hit on 6s in 6th edition. They hit on normal weapon skill. So as long as your weapon skill is 3 or 4, you have a decent chance of landing some of those grenades and doing some damage. If you have a whole nest of, say, something Dark Eldar, or maybe Tau with like EMP, you're probably going to wreck it before it even gets to swing. Now, granted, you're going to lose the squad in the process, probably to the explosion, but, you know, what's a squad of Fire Warriors or, say, Dark Eldar Witches to, you know, 370 point Titan? So those are just some things to think about as well when fighting against the Titan itself. Another good tactic to use when fighting against the Night Titan is to roll on the telepathy table for psychic powers, because if you pull off something like Puppet War, then if they're fielding multiple Titans, you might be able to blast them with their own Titan. Now remember, these weapons are basically axial mounted, so they have a good range of fire. So even if it's pointed fire forward at your army, you could probably position the gun to the right or slightly to the left, and be able to take some shots at the your opponent's actual army themselves. If not, another Titan, maybe the rear. If it's got the melta weapon, well, that would just be too funny to shoot the rear of another Titan and maybe cause some sort of chain reaction in their back line. So that's always a good option. Also, if they keep their Titans in reserve, remember that the ion shield is not set while it's in reserve. Reserve is not deployment. So when it comes on, and if you want to take interceptor shots at it during your shooting phase, the shield will not be up. So they have to be kind of careful about where they position it. And if you're playing something like Tau or something, maybe with some, Riptide in the middle of the board with ripple effect, Meltagun, or something else like that, like even broadsides laying in the cut with interceptor as well with the rail rifle. That could be a real problem for the Titan. So these are a couple of things to consider, setting up or rolling or actually doing in as you see what your opponent is doing with his Titans. These are just some tactics that you can kind of come up with on the fly. One of the most glaring weaknesses of the Night Titan itself is, of course, its lack of anti-aircraft capability. This 374 or 375 point model cannot interact with flyers whatsoever. So you can actually use this to your advantage, and the meta may actually set itself up to exploit this weakness. We may see a lot more Storm Ravens on the table, a lot more Necron Doom sites, things like that really used to dominate 6th edition back at the beginning might also start to come back as well if Night Titans are actually become a real thing. Because there isn't, a whole lot of things that can kill them, but the things that kill them do it exceptionally well. And obviously a Storm Raven with a whole bunch of missiles, with a multi-melta with the last cannon, that can be an issue. 2 is even more of an issue because you're only going to be your opponent is only going to be able to get the ion shield against one of them if you do it correctly. The Night Scythe can definitely put a hurting on multiple Titans at once, which is just kind of funny in and of itself that Necrons can do it. So those are just some things to think about as you're planning to play against these things, or what you might see out there. Just a simple grenade that's strength 7 or higher, like the Melta Bomb or Haywire Grenade or something like that, is in the hands of somebody getting assaulted is actually very effective. So just keep these things in mind when you're playing up against these new models, because there's a lot out there. A lot of things are going to work, a lot of things are not going to work, and it's definitely going to change up 40K for a very long time. And I guess we'll just kind of see how it goes. So that's it. That's pretty much all I got to say anymore about the Night Titan. Make sure you check out the blog, spikybitsblog.com. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, and check out our podcast, forgednarrative.com. Spiky Bits.